Good morning, hello. Happy Tuesday, everyone. I hope everybody's doing good. I am happy that we're finished with asteroids and we're starting to work on the exploration and learning that we can have to level up for the next experience that we're gonna do. So we found, or we targeted, identified three things that we can work on, or maybe it was four, but that doesn't matter. We're only gonna focus on one at a time until we get each one down. So the first one is event handling. How are we gonna handle multiple events inside of our games? So what do I mean by that? I want to actually launch the asteroids game so we can actually take a look at see what's actually going on here. So rust workspace, asteroids rust, cargo run. Oh, I need to turn the volume down just a little bit more. Huh, now it's green. Interesting. Okay, I don't think I ever set a color for Brookcirkerbot in my chat. So right away we launch our player in. Okay, that probably doesn't need any kind of event, but I can also see that being an event for removing the text of, oh, press return to spawn your character. When I fire, however, two things happen. We create a bullet, and the bullet obviously just starts flying out. Okay, that's one thing that happens when you press the space bar. We also have sound, like that bullet sound, the explosion. I can't remember what it is. That is two things with one event. Right now, I believe that the system that listens for the space bar for firing the bullet, and it's actually called fire bullet, also plays the sound, which is now tightly coupling multiple systems together. Same thing happens when I hit the up button on my keyboard. The thrusters go off, so I start moving, but I also tell it, I also set a flag inside of the world in order to then display this little fire coming out of the bottom of the ship. I think that I want to try to get away from any kind of flagging, and I think that I can do that with what is it called? I can get rid of that with the events, because then I can just say, oh, pressing, we're thrusting this frame, and every frame that I am thrusting, we can have that event out there. The system that would be listening to it would then say, ooh, okay, let me make sure we're drawing the little flame thing. Okay, so when I die,
reinforcements have arrived.
Let's see. Okay, same thing there. Pretzel Rocks came in because Pretzel Rocks added a chat message, and that's like coming in system. There was the sound system, and then setting like the firing. Seeing what the firing strategy was. Pretzel Rocks OP, absolutely. It's like my buddy when nobody else is here. Also, hello and good morning, Stacking. So basically, I need an event, some kind of system to handle multiple things at the same time. Even when I die, I remove the ship. I remove a life, and I spawn particles. That's three things at the same time. Asteroids. Destroy an asteroid. 2 asteroids come out, half the size of each, and little particles. So would be nice. Happy holiday. Is today a holiday? I don't think it's a holiday in the US. At least I still have work. Is it holiday where you are? I'm looking at the calendar to see whether or not. No, it just says it's a half moon. There's no holiday for me. You're in the US and it's an unofficial holiday. What's the unofficial holiday? Or am I just like not paying attention to news enough and so I don't know what's going on? Which is probably the most likely thing. Oh. You know, I should know that. A long time ago, I actually worked at a cannabis company. I was a software developer building inventory and compliance systems for local growers, and yeah, that was a huge day every year. I should have remembered that, but I'm just like completely out of that world now. All right, well that's fun. Thank you for letting me know. Happy 420, everyone. Okay. So basically, we know we want that. So I'm gonna switch over and we're gonna start talking about our requirements. So events, system requirements. Dunlaji, do I want to join your Discord? I don't know. I don't have like time to just sort of join a lot of different Discords. I'm already on a whole bunch of like Discords and Slacks and everything else, and so I am trying not to be on too many at the same time. But if you can give me a really good reason why I should be there, then I might consider it, but I can't promise. Okay, so what do we need here? We need to be able to handle so one event read by many systems. So this is one of our requirements here. One event read by many systems. Let's see. What else? Like we know it's single threaded. The events need to reset at the end of the frame. I think that's fine. So events should reset the end of the frame. Oh, you're at 4 members. I have a Discord too. Oh, you're gonna create a game? I won't be able to join you in creating a game. I've got so many things that I'm doing, working on my own. I'll consider it. Send me a message on my Discord and I'll consider it, but I can't promise. I have a link to my Discord here. Oh, cool. Did we just bring in Nightbot and myself? Nice. All right. So event should reset at the end of the frame. Let's see. What else do I care about here? Does one system care about multiple events? No. So I guess like events should reset at the end of the frame. Like something that's related to this is events should not be lost when a system looks at them. right now, this is going to be my only list of requirements. Then we can add more as we need it. Can I send the Discord, please, again? It's right. Oh, yeah, sure. I could just do that. Command. It's the it's Bang Discord. So it's a bot command that you can run in chat. Okay, so given this, what are different ways my sysadmin days are showing? Yeah. Which one of these is showing that off? that time of my life really like just set me on this path. Bear Cool, hello. Oh, using Bang for how, like, I've just been using that forever, and like therefore I've now convinced, I don't know, like 100 students probably to use Bang for that too. I just used it in front of them, and as they're learning their journey, their coding journey, and so they probably use it all the time too. So we're gonna bring it back. I didn't realize that was only a sysadmin thing. I just thought that it was a tech, IT thing. Stick dot. Well, okay. I mean, truth be honest, stick dot is probably a superior way of calling it. I'm just old school. Okay, so what are the different ways that I could handle this? Let's like make this green for my options here. So there's channels. Let's see. Channels has a problem though, because channels, if I remember correctly, as soon as you like rec v to read one, it removes it. A channel is just a queue of messages, which is a problem. I need multiple systems to read the same things. So what about I think, are there multi-read channels? Question mark? Maybe? I want to say that I've heard about these in like, not in the standard library, but maybe in like some of the other libraries, like maybe Tokyo or something else has these. Maybe Small has one too. I don't know. Let's see. We could use with a sort of on the same line, but like can be both channels and multi-read channels. We could we can use like a more classic observer pattern. The problem with this being that the systems do need to register with each other, and I don't know if that's a good idea. But with, let's see, so these are patterns and these are technologies that we can use. So let's have these be a different color. You could be red, sure. There can be some kind of event handler or event manager, like a class that stores all the events, and then somebody sends you then send all of the events that you have into the event manager, and the event, then you can request, hey, what events have happened this frame, and then it responds back, here's just an array of the events, have fun. So that's something that we can do too. Okay, so there's the two. These are the technologies. Thank you, Dunlaji. I'll take a look at that later today or tomorrow. Basically, just when I can off stream. Let's see. Cross beam. Okay, so multi-read channels. We have Tokyo, small, cross beam. So some technologies there for us to take a look at. Let's see. What else? Like, is there any other patterns that we can use? So if I was to diagram this out, we would have, so we have systems that are running like this. So let's take one of the systems that like we ran into before. So our first system could be the player runs into the asteroid. So come on. Player collides with asteroid. So that'd be one system. Now another system that we need to do when that happens, we like maybe spawn particles needs to run. After spawn particles runs, we also want to like update lives. So just update the lives tracker, and then also on top of that, we want to update the lives mesh. Yeah, and I think this would be it. Oh, potentially too. Play death sound. This would be one event that has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I guess like this is the thing. So an event comes out of here. So an event comes out of here like that into some kind of manager or whatever, and then from that, all of these have to read that one event and then do something in return. Now we know they're all going to be handed the world, but I don't want this one to like also just like update the world with some kind of like player died and then at the very end remove that as a resource or something. It just seems silly, and it's going to add like it's going to cause bugs, weird bugs over time if we forget that we've done that. So an event system is going to help us be more complicated, create bigger simulations and games, but keep things just as, if not simpler than we have been so far. So the question is like, what's this magic that happens here? Like, what are we doing there? In the observer pattern, each of these systems would register with each other. So what that would look like here is, let's get rid of all of you. We could say, okay, player collides with asteroid. This is a system. And then we have all of these that sort of just sit down here, maybe horizontal. They all register. So let's do green as they register here. I want to listen to an event. Player collides, then sends that event back out to anybody who's registered whenever that event happens, and then they just sort of do things when that happens, but it's player collides doesn't actually care who these are, and spawn particles cares about player collides, but player collides doesn't care about spawn particles, and spawn particle doesn't have to care or worry about anybody else who's, you know, thinking about this. Tokyo sync broadcast. Okay, I knew it was something in Tokyo. Okay, so Tokyo sync broadcast. Thank you. So that is the observer pattern in a nutshell. If programming patterns are really awesome. If any of you like, if you're not familiar with them, highly recommended to check a few of them out. All 26, 25 are not necessary, but like there's a few of them that are like gold that you just use all the time. Observe pattern is probably the one of the ones that are like really cool. However, there's some problems. How we actually do this in Rust is an issue. In a language like JavaScript, where I don't have like to worry about types, because I can just sort of willy-nilly do whatever I want, it's actually really easy to use the observe pattern and like avoid any kind of weird bugs, but also not have to worry about types. And that's because the events themselves are going to be just sort of like passed in and sent out here. So that's one thing. I think also, I don't think I said a good morning to Tanaka. So good morning. I think there's some independent non-asynchronous as well, as you don't want to buy into the whole Tokyo ecosystem. I've like gone back and forth on whether or not I want to get into Tokyo. I haven't. Just make events T and call it a day. Yeah, I mean, we could do that. The problem in this case is that I only want like one of these functions to exist at a time, and like T will not do that. You're just lurking around, but thank you anyways for coming out of the lurk hole to let me know about Tokyo Sync broadcast. All right. So that's the observer pattern. And I think that if I do it correctly, this could work, but I don't know if it gets messy or not. I'm not really sure. We might want to do an experiment trying the observer pattern just to sort of see how it is. The event manager pattern, well, okay, there is no official pattern for event manager. This is sort of something I have in my head that like might work with this. So let's say I just duplicate you down here. What would this end up looking like? You're still right here. All of you move down. And now I'm gonna have another one of these. We're gonna have the event manager here. So player collides with asteroids is going to send its event. So what was that? That was orange. The event gets sent out to the event manager. The event manager now stores a bunch of events in like a vector. And each one of these can, I suppose, pull. So now this would be a double arrow line. They're gonna pull for the events that have that are active this frame. So what does that mean? They would say, hey, spawn particle would say, hey, event manager, what events are active this frame? And it would get an array or a vector back of the player collided with the asteroid. Along with like whatever, the same thing up here, they might need like the data with this event too, but that would just be part of the event. And player collides with asteroids doesn't need to know who's caring about the event manager. Spawn particles doesn't need to care about the other systems that care about this event. And the event manager itself doesn't really care about who cares about it. It's just gonna expose, like, hold events and expose them, and potentially could even log them out easily. I don't know what the right method is here for this, and there might be even a third one. Now, if I do this one, I believe that how the events themselves know the events. The events don't know. The events don't know or care. So spawn particles, for example, it knows the events it wants to listen to. So, for example, let's have a list of events here. It gets a list of events like player hit asteroid, player fired bullet. These are arbitrary lists. I don't know if it matters. Platform spawned in. Maybe like asteroid hit by bullet. Let's say all of these things happened in one frame. So this is the list of events. Let's make that a better color. Maybe a little bit bigger too. Each one of these is being sent to each one of these systems. And it's gonna be the same, it's gonna be different here. Because asteroids would be only player hit asteroid would be the event sent down here. All of these would also be registering with the system that, like, you know, fires the bullet or that spawns in. So either way, it's going to be complicated because there's multiple systems spawning events and multiple things consuming those events. Spawn particles here only cares about player hit asteroid and asteroid hit by bullet. That's the only thing it cares about. All of these other ones, it gets those events, sort of looks at them and goes, don't care, and drops it. That's what I'm thinking about. Update lives would only care about player hit asteroid. Update lives mesh, same thing, player hit asteroid. Play death sound, same thing, player hit asteroid. So everyone would hold an RW lock event manager, kind of. I suppose I don't want it to be multi-threaded. Like, the game isn't multi-threaded, or the simulation / games that I'm working on, because it's GG is not multi-threaded. Which does open me up to non-multi-thread tools and systems. Which it does make things a lot easier. So here, this would be everybody gets all of these events. This is not actually true, because like spawn particles might actually create an event too. That like goes back into the event manager. So there's a lot of I don't know, like there's a lot of complexity that can happen here. But the idea is, let's say this is an order from left to right. Spawn particles reads, let's say only like 3 of these events exist now. Update lives now there's 4 events. Better not to pull in Tokyo or small because you don't have any IO to suspend on.
Reinforcements have arrived.
Yeah, maybe. It's common to implement an event manager message queue and sub to specific messages or groups of messages. It's still the observer pattern, just with an extra organ. Okay, so that would be the event manager, and then I pub sub essentially to this. Now, how would I guess I could say, like, give me internally with this event manager. Also, good morning, Utsby. What would that end up looking like? It would probably be, this is going to be terrible. I'm going to try to write code inside of this. A design tool with code, that's not a good idea. But okay, if I have like a hash map, let's say, and a key is gonna be like the event name, so we can have like player hit asteroids, and then that's gonna be a vector of events, event, event. Well, I guess like there would probably only be one event of that. But then we can have another one. We have player hit asteroids, maybe like bullet fired. That could potentially be event, 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 like that. If there's like multiple platforms all firing bullets at the same time. And then I could say like as spawn particles, I only care about the player hit asteroids and maybe the like, you know, asteroid hit by bullet events. So only give me these. So like give me access to those. And I could do the observer pattern like the same thing as up here, where it hands it a channel for each of those specific events, which then sends them on off as soon as they happen. Or basically spawn particles does a rec v on the channel, on the read channel for the event manager. Is that what you're, oh, okay. I think that's what you're trying to say. And that does make some sense. So what would that end up looking like in code? I love how like over time my my playground for Rust just gathers main functions. Not appropriate main functions, just main functions. So if I have, let's see, how would I want to, you know what? I never really like using this because it doesn't give me the tooling that I get from local. So let's actually do this locally. How do I want to actually do this? Let's create a new repository. On GitHub, do builds. Let's call this like exploring event handling. Exploring event handling for games and simulations. Could be used elsewhere. I'm also going to add in Rust. And handling Rust. Okay, public. Let's clone that. Don't put that into my personal one. Put that into Brooks builds. Default branch. This is fine. Just sure. MIT. And I can go ahead and open up VS Code. Maybe? Possibly? Or not? Commands code, builds, what did I call it? Exploring event handling in Rust. We'll open up code here. Permission denied. I know there's a keyboard shortcut in Git Kraken to open up a local editor, but I think because it's still like thinking that it's doing stuff, it didn't work, which is a little bit sad. But it's not really that big of a deal. Okay, so in here we can first of all rest up update. Do we have any new rest stuff? Right, I have to stay on 1.47 because of reasons, game dev reasons. So we're staying on there for right now. Maybe if I switch, I don't know if Bevy is better with that, but also Bevy is still very fluid in their updates. Like they're updating constantly, so I don't necessarily want to switch over to them yet. And I don't want to jump into Godot because I'm still really enjoying like learning the deep down parts of game dev without actually going so deep down that I have to write my own display code. Okay, so let's do a cargo init here. Everything's good. We can do a cargo run. Should get our hello world. So let's go ahead and just start playing around with this. If I wanted to create a, I don't know which one of these I want to try first. Do any of you have any thoughts on like which system you want to go, like the traditional observer pattern or an event manager observer? Using observer pattern. Either way could potentially work. We need to just play with them to sort of like see how it would work. And I'm okay with us doing both too. These architectures are pretty cool.
Target the nearest asteroid.
Have I analyzed asteroids and picked out the events you used or would want to use? Yeah, actually, that's what I was getting from here. Is I just looked at the very like the beginnings of it, just the beginning of the game. So looking at this, when I died, for example, I want like maybe a death sound. So that would be like, I want a death sound. I want to spawn particles. I want to update the lives, like behind the scenes, and I want to update the life mesh, or yeah, probably like, yeah, I want to update like what 3-4 things whenever that dies. So that would be, it's not like a one-to-one, like one event, one system reads it, one event, multiple systems reads it. Now that being said, I'm not necessarily gonna update, I'm thinking I'm gonna leave asteroids the same, but for the next game, we're gonna use an event like handler system. So we're gonna figure out what that architecture is gonna be, today, the next couple streams, and then next game, then we're gonna go move on to our next exploration. And then the next game, we'll use whatever we learn from these explorations. So, sort of, yes. It's mostly to find out that I need multiple things. And we can sort of pretend we're doing that here without the entire like game framework part getting in our way. So let's say, new REST analyzer. Let's say that I want a more traditional systems here. How would I do this? If we have like a tick, like a single tick happening here, we would want to initialize systems, have them read each other. So do I want to do them like both here? Let's create like a lib.rs and maybe call this like a traditional observer pattern. All right, so I don't know if, okay, so in lib, I'm just gonna have a mod traditional observer pattern. It's pub function run. I don't really care about what happens here. We're just gonna do stuff. What that means is that in main, you can then call run. So in here, I'm gonna like run one and then the other, depending upon which one we want to run with. Okay, so traditional observer pattern, I'm gonna do the work like in this folder here for this. So we need a system, we need a couple systems, and then one system is going to observe another system. So let's say we have a we're gonna have a player fires bullet system, maybe. Player like I guess this would be handle input system. So what is this gonna look like? We are gonna have a pub function. Now, actually, I don't know if I can do this as a function. I need to remember now how the like the methods on observer patterns, because like it's slightly different. There's some traits that we're gonna need to add in, I think. I might want like a pub struct handle input system. I don't know if I need to like store anything on it, so I might just do something like this. We would have an impl for handle input system, pub function, like maybe we have a run. So we can do like handle input system run or dot run. I don't know. No, we would need to store things in here because we need to store the event systems. We need to store those channels because if we look up here, like spawn particles needs to register channels with them for the events. So what would that end up looking like? We need not the event handlers, but the observers. So we would have like observers. You would have to be something like a vec of probably channels to send out. So what would that be? A channel, sender. We'll do this as a, I don't know if it matters. We could just use a sender. And we can have this be a string or we would have to have another method, like another file here for like the events. S. Enum events. And so maybe like this one could be like player fired bullet. That could be an event. So events. So we have the observers. That's going to be a vec of the senders. So who's going to be doing that? We have multiple of these handle input systems. That means to me, like, we're going to need to probably have a trait. So here, let's have a hub trait. So there's the observer, and then there's the observed. I don't remember what the observee trait is called. Like, what is the observed called? I know that game development patterns actually sort of goes over that, and I don't remember a better way to sort of see this. You have the observer subject. Okay. So this is the subject. So we would have a function register which would be a mutable reference to self. And then also it needs to hand in the sender. So it takes in I guess like the channel, the sender, which is a sender with an events. Okay, so if I do this, I'm going to now, in this case, we now need to make sure that, let's have like a new, actually I can implement default on this. So derive, sure, let's just do default run is going to be a mute self. And that's it. Nothing else happens here. And then we're going to impl subject for handle input system. Register here is just going to self.observers.push the sender. And that's all we're going to do is we're going to push in the sender. So then when run happens, let's say that we're going to fire the gun. So space is hit. We are going to fire the gun. It doesn't necessarily do anything here. It's just going to send out event saying, hey, we're firing the gun. So we can basically create our event. So the event is events, player fired bullet. There might be data that gets onto this. We can easily add in data to this enum. And then we're gonna loop through. So we can just for observer in observers, we need to make sure that we're not taking ownership of you. Observer.send the event and used to move value. Oh, okay, yeah. So can I clone you? I should clone and copy. So we want to derive. Sure, debug, clone, and copy. This returns a result, so let's go ahead and I'll just unwrap for right now because I don't have, like, this would return some kind of result. What are you? You're a send error. So I could like return a result with nothing, send error. Well, what kind of sender are you? T. Oh, that's gonna get messy. We could bring in error, and that will help things out. Let's do that. Okay. Instead of this result, I'm gonna do an error result. Okay. An error result with nothing in it. So in this case, we can now question mark u. At the very end, return, okay. So this is going to now send to all the observers this event when it happens. Which means, like, we could also say, hey, what if something else happens here? Like, what other input can we have? We can have, like, thrust event. So let's have another event here. So we can have player thrusting. We could shadow this, so like, but all of these can happen in the same frame potentially. So we have like spaces hit, we're going to send this out. We have up arrow is hit, time to thrust a ship. So we're going to just do the same thing. Let event equals, well, so in this case, like, look at this. I'm now creating like multiple events here like that. What if I then have let's do events, let's make the immutable equals an empty vector. We don't need you. Events.push. And this is going to be the new event. So that is the events player fired bullet. Also going to do events push events player thrusting. So we have two events that happened in the same frame. At the end of all of this, time for us to now send out these events to whoever is listening to them. So then we can do for the observer. So let's start with for observer in a reference to self.observers. Then for each of these observers, we want to now push in one of these. So now loop through all the events. So for event in a reference, and in this case, it doesn't matter. I can just do in self.events, or actually just events. Cloning this should be relatively cheap because it's just an enum. And then we can observer.send event and question mark that. And so then this happens at the very end here. That being said, would this make sense to store in here? Well, okay, before I do anything else to refactor, let's make sure that this works. So we have a subject. So let's have another system here. This is going to be the play play like gun sound system, maybe. Okay. Play gun sound system. Okay, so I want to, let's make a struct a gun sound system. You will need to store stuff away because we need to store the receiver. So we need the subjects that we're listening to. Like right now, we only have one subject, don't we? So we don't have to care about that. But this is going to be a receiver that's going to hold events. So let's import the gun sound system. Create a new one. Return a self. And this. So how am I going to like register them together? That's probably gonna have to be in like this mod when we're gonna have like a run function. It's like a pub function run. Do an error results. We don't care about you. That. We know we're gonna have to create the play gun sound system. No, wait, handle input system. What are you upset about? Why are you yelling at me? Events. Use a moved value. Because events is being moved over and over again. Let's do a reference to you, which means I need to dereference you to clone you. That should be fine. Okay, we will use run shortly. Okay, so we need a new handle input system. So let's do handle, you probably need to be mutable. So handle input system equals a handle input system default. So we get you. And then we need the other system too. And then the other system is going to register with the handle input system. So what would that look like? This can't just return self, can it? It's going to have to return the sender. It keeps the receiver, but we need to return to self and the sender. Receivers can be cloned, but wait, is it the other way around? Can we can have one sender and multiple receivers, or multiple senders and one receiver? Okay, this half can only be owned by one thread. So let's store, we have the subject as a receiver, so we can have multiple senders. If we store this away, so so the subject that we're looking at is this receiver, and I might want that to be a vector too. Probably, if I want to make this like generic. Let's make this a vec. And we'll call this subjects. And you're the observer, so we could call this like subject. how do I want to get this out? I guess I want to store this away. So this is going to be the sender for the subjects. So subject event sender is going to be a sender for events. So we're going to say let going to have a event sender event receiver equals channel. Oh, I got the order right. Channel like that, and I need to give it what type it's going to be. So you're going to be events that. So given that, now we want to turn a self subjects is going to be a empty vec, and subject event sender I can only have one of these, can't I? So I can't create this yet, can I? Because I can't do anything with the... I don't know who this is coming from. And if I want multiple of these coming out, because like multiple... So I don't necessarily want to do that. These are going to be just empty vectors to begin with. Which means I don't actually need to store you. I just need to store the subjects that I'm going to be observing. Which means I need a new method. So if we come back to mod, we have our handle input system, and then we're gonna have also let mute our play gun sound system. Gun sound system new. So now I want to have the play gun sound system observe the handle input system, which means do I pass the play gun sound system like a mutable reference to this to handle input system? So this is going to register. Now, right now I have this taken in a sender. I wonder if that's actually incorrect. I wonder if I want to actually take in, like, do dynamic dispatch here of an observer. So if I want a observer, can I say that you implement the observer trait, which doesn't exist yet, but it will. I don't know if I can do that without boxing it up. So in here, let's also create another trait. Trait observer. And we're gonna have a function. Right now, let's not worry about that. We'll come back in. So import you. You need to be method register has one. Oh, yeah, back to here. You don't take in a sender, you take in an observer, which is impulse observer. So far, things are happy. Now, we take in this observer and we want to get the channel for sending. So that means in here, for this observer trait, we need a function get the channel, get the send channel, get the sender. I don't know what to call it. This is going to be a mute self. And you're going to return a sender with an event. And I think that's the only thing I care about. So if we come back into here, we have this register. We take in an observer that implements observer. You should probably be a mutable reference. Can I do that? Oh, I could do that if I do that here also. Because I don't want to take ownership of the observer. Just a mutable reference to the observer. Okay, so far so good. I want to get the channel. So the sender is going to equal to the observer dot get sender. That gives me the sender events, and then I want to store that away in the observers. So self dot observers dot push sender. Then when we run this, it's going to send this event out. So far, so good. Okay, so we have our register, we have our sender. So handle input system. So we create our handle input system, we create our gun sound system, and now we need to say handle input system dot register a mutable reference to the play gun sound system. And we do need to implement. So impl observer for the play gun sound system. Get sender. Okay, so now we need our let sender receiver equals a new channel, and you're going to be sending events like this. We're going to send out the sender, but we're going to keep the receiver for ourselves. So self dot subjects push receiver, and then we're going to return the sender. Okay, we're still happy. So now we've registered the play gun sound system to observe the handle input system. And so then the handle input system is now when it runs. So now we can handle input system dot run. It's just gonna do its thing. We come back to play gun sound system. Okay, so both of these events happen essentially in the same frame. We're thrusting forwards and we're firing the gun. Definitely something can both happen at the same time. Okay, so we send these two events for what happens out. Play gun sound system needs to capture these events, and it needs to we already create a new one. We want to handle the events in like its run. So we're gonna have a pub function run Mutable self. Let's return an error result. And let's just log out the event, like the event that we care about. So we want to listen for events to then play the gun sound. So for subject in reference self.subjects, we can only have one receiver, so it has to be a reference here. We can't like clone it. You should be okay there. We're going to get a message out of here. So let event. So we want to actually get all of the events out this frame. And is there something that will like tell us how many there are in there? So subject dot I have iter stuff. There's rec v. There's also try rec v. I think what I want to do is like a try rec v to get that out. Because if I do a rec v, what happens? Attempts to wait for a value on this iterator. That's not cool. I don't want it to wait. So a try rec v attempts to return a pending value in the receiver without blocking. This method will never block the caller in order to wait for data to become available. So basically, if there's nothing in there, it's not going to wait. And so it's going to return. Okay, so if I let event equals, so we're going to get this result with the events or an error. So if I do that, we're going to get the events out. But this try rec v, is this going to be an error if there's no events? I'm actually really curious. I don't know. We can try that scenario next where we just return without any like errors or without any events. Okay, so we have event. We can now loop through. I guess this is now a vector of all of the stuff in here. So I don't need to even like loop through and do try. Okay, so we have a vector of event. Oh, no, it's a single event. We do have to loop through this. Okay. Let's just do one for right now. I want to debug event. That's all I want to do. So back to here. I now want to do the play gun sound system dot run. Then we're going to come into our library and we're going to say traditional observer pattern run. And we'll unwrap you here. So if we run this, it's essentially one frame where an event happens. And here we see event player fired bullet. So we only get that one event. So if we wanted to handle all of the events here, I need to while loop. So you can just loop infinitely. we get this event and we try that. Let's see what happens if I do this. We got player fired bullet, player thrusting, and then air. And it crashed air because there was no more events to handle out. So this question mark isn't really what we want to do. Now, if I just do a rec V, no, I think we have to do a try rec V. But I also don't want to what's in a try rec V error? This channel is currently empty, but the senders have not yet disconnected, so data may yet become available. I don't care about that. I want to just ignore the error then. Can I just ignore the error? I don't necessarily think that I can easily. If okay, we can do an if let. We can do an if let. Okay, here, let's do let event equals if let okay. Event equals subject. Try rec v. We'll pass in the event. Otherwise, we're going to break out of the loop because we're done here. And then we can debug this event. We should not crash now, but get both the events. We do. Oh. Okay. So, what are you upset about? This loop can be written as a while let loop. Really? Okay. While let okay events. Ooh, okay. Wait, you just deleted all my code. Cool. I like that though. So then we just have a debug event. Like that. And you should have the same thing. Okay, so same thing happens. So this is cleaner. So while let okay, get the event out of this thing. And then we want to handle the event, which means we're just going to match on event, fill the match arms. The only thing we care about here, I know Clippy with that clutch like refactoring that actually worked really well. Nice. Okay, the player fired bullet, we care about this one. So we're just gonna debug. This is play gun sound. So we're just gonna say plain gun sound. And that's it. And player thrusting, we're going to ignore that. We're not going to do anything at all. I'm not returning anything from here. I want to ignore you. Can I just do that? Expected stir. There we go. Now I debug and I don't do anything out of it because of the semicolon. So now we should only get the single. There we go. Playing the gun sound. And then what this means is we can come back into our handle input system and we could say, you know what? Nope. Handle input system. you're not happening. No events are happening, like none at all. Which means when we run this, nothing happens here and we're still happy. Things are still fine. Play gun sound system basically comes in and says, oh, nothing for me to do, so therefore I'm just exiting. It loops through all the events that are coming in, and then we're done. So I'm thinking that this general pattern is the classic observer pattern, where I have systems that register themselves with other systems. So I have subjects that register, no, observers that register themselves with subjects. The subjects then send messages out to all the observers when things happen. And it doesn't care what they are, it just, all events that it could possibly create get sent to each of them. So this is one way to sort of decouple that, and now input system doesn't have to also actually play the gun sound system. I can have smaller systems that just do one thing and one thing only. But the systems do need to be aware of which, well, kind of. Run here needs to be aware of which systems they should be registered for. And that's kind of it. So I kind of like this. I'd be interested in seeing like what you all feel about it. Variant is never constructed. Right. Let's go ahead and turn these back on, and then you'll be happy again. You are yelling at me. Okay, so there we go. No errors, no misspellings. Everything's happy. So in case you're interested in going like looking through that code, I'm going to push this on up. Okay, good. Just the normal stuff. I'm gonna push this on up. This is the I guess traditional observer pattern using channels. And if you're interested in that, here is a link to that to this code, in case you want to take a look at it yourself. It is 8:30, so I am also gonna have to like wind the stream down. So I'm also gonna close off the YouTube video here. If you have any questions, please leave them as comments down below. And I'll see you in the next video.